The cervical spine is formed of 7 cervical vertebrae. C1 and C2 have a different morphology and anatomy, while the subaxial spine, which extends between C3 and C7, have a similar anatomical landmarks. In this video, we will discuss 10 anatomical landmarks to identify on the cervical spine vertebral anatomy. This is Mohammed Draz, and this is your knowledge platform about the brain, spine, and beyond. So if we look here at this lovely 3D anatomical model of the cervical vertebra. So here we're looking from a top-down view. So we're looking at the top of the vertebral body. And what we can see here is this is towards posteriorly, and what's pointing here is the spinous process. What's actually characteristic for this one is that it's a bifid spinous process, which is in the cervical spine. There's only one which is different, which I will show you later on. Then this spinous process will have like 2 kind of flaps going anteriorly. Those are the laminae or the lamina of the vertebra. Anteriorly here we have the vertebral body, and here we have the spinal canal where the spinal cord would be going. If we look on the sides here, this part is basically the superior articular facet. And on the other side, similarly, this is the superior articular facet, which would be articulating with the inferior articular facet of the level above. If we move inferiorly, I will try to make it the other way, just from the posterior is better. Then we see the inferior articular facet, which again will be articulating with the superior articular facet of the level below. In between, we have something which looks like a square-shaped. This square-shaped thing is called the lateral mass. And the lateral mass is very important from a surgical point of view, because this is where we put the screws in the cervical spine, and this is why it's called lateral mass screws. If we look at this view here from the top, we can see here there is a little structure here which extends between the body and the lateral mass and those articular facets, and this is basically the pedicle. This is the pedicle of this cervical vertebra. Then there is another foramen here, or an open space on each side, which will include the vertebral artery on both sides. This is called the foramen transversorium. And then we have 2 articular processes here, the anterior and posterior articular process. And on top of this pedicle, looks like a groove, and that groove is basically where the nerve root will pass. So if you think about it, you'll have a spinal cord here. At each level, it will be giving a nerve root on each side. The nerve root will be passing through this space, which is called the neural foramen. And this is a down view on the same vertebra. If we look here at this cervical vertebra, it's a different one. The only difference you can spot is basically this spinous process is not bifid, and that's the difference for C7. So from C3 to C6, they have a bifid spine. The characteristic thing about C7 that it's a non-bifid spinous process. But again, to summarize and to go through the similar landmarks again, so spinous process, lamina, superior articular facet, inferior articular facet, the lateral mass in between, which is smaller in the C7, then the pedicle, and if we look here, the foramen transversorium, and then we have the vertebral body. Here is a very nice anatomical model as well. If we look here, so that's C1, C2, C3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. As I said before, those all are bifid spinous processes except C7. We can see here the superior articular facet, the inferior articular facet, and in between is the lateral mass. The anatomical model is not as perfect as in reality, definitely. And as we can see here, the nerve root is coming out of the spinal cord, passing through the foramen here. So that's the foramen kind of formed in this area, and the spinal nerve root is just going on top and through that foramen on top of with the pedicle below it. And then the foramen transversorium, as I explained before, here the foramen transversorium where the vertebral artery will be going all the way up, and definitely Looking anteriorly here, we'll have a vertebral body, and then we will have the disc space in between. And then finally is the spinal cord going all the way inside the spinal canal. So that's all simplified. It's very easy to understand. You just have to have a 3D anatomy in your head so that you can identify those structures. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll be talking about the cervical spine MRI scan and how to identify the anatomical landmarks on this MRI scan. See you.